So Donald Trump, since I know you're watching, I have 4 words for you. Turn the volume up. So hear me, President Trump, when I say this. To get to any of us, you will have to get through all of us.
How do you respond to that? Does that affect anything you're going to do?
It's a very dangerous statement for him to make, actually.
Shockingly, President Trump not embracing the new mayor of New York. We knew that was going to happen. A fight between Mayor Mamdani and President Trump is brewing now following the win on Tuesday. The pot only starting to simmer now. Cenk, what are your first thoughts on what you see as this relationship?
Yeah, I wasn't as worried about that statement from Trump. I'm worried about the next statement we're going to show you because I think that it's unacceptable. But I also want to talk about who's right here because Trump thinks it's a win to have Mamdani as a foil. I don't think it's the win that he thinks it is. So we'll discuss.
Yeah, we'll discuss, and I don't know when we'll know the answer to that, but probably soon considering it's Trump. As we shared with you yesterday, Trump was pushing very, very hard for former Governor Andrew Cuomo to win that race, posting on Truth Social on election morning. Any Jewish person that votes for Zohran Mamdani, a proven and self-professed Jew hater, is a stupid person, which is a really smart thing to say in New York. And because he didn't get his way and got called out, Trump's hurt feelings were on full display during an interview with Fox's Bret Baier last night.
I thought it was a very angry speech, certainly angry toward me, and I think he should be very nice to me. You know, I'm the one that sort of has to approve a lot of things coming to him, so he's off to a bad start.
At one point he says, turn the volume up.
So hear me, President Trump, when I say this. To get to any of us, you will have to get through all of us.
How do you respond to that? Does that affect anything you're going to do?
It's a very dangerous statement for him to make, actually. And, you talk about danger. I think it's a very dangerous statement for him to make. He has to be a little bit respectful of Washington because if he's not, he doesn't have a chance of succeeding. And I want to make him succeed. I want to make the city succeed. I don't want to make him succeed. I want to make the city succeed. And we'll see what happens.
Did you see reaching out to him?
I would say he should reach out to us.
An interesting take from the president. And during the Mamdani campaign, Trump had threatened, as you recall, to slash New York City's federal funding to the minimum requirement if Mamdani won, as well as mount a takeover. So in essence, Trump was alive when Gerald Ford was president. And there's that famous New York Post or Daily News headline that said Ford to city drop dead. I'm sure that he's waiting to emulate that when New York City was asking for federal funds during the Mac era in New York, Big Mac, when they were bankrupt in New York City. The White House even posted this to X yesterday following his win before deleting it hours later. Trump is your president, as you can see in the familiar, even if you're not an NBA fan, New York Knicks logo. So this celebratory post was posted by the White House. Mamdani's campaign used a similar Knicks parody logo, and the Knicks asked both parties to take it down. So Mamdani made it clear during his first press conference yesterday he's ready for anything that the president throws his way. AP News reported that Mamdani was preparing to Trump-proof, that's in quotes, Trump-proof the city to protect those with the least from consequences of the man with the most power in the country. He's already vowing to hire, the president is, 200 lawyers to the city's department, the mayor-elect is, to hire 200 lawyers to the city's law department to help stand up to, quote, presidential excess. New Yorkers are facing twin crises in this moment, an authoritarian administration and an affordability crisis. And it will be my job, says Mamdani, to deliver on both. But at the same time, he's willing to work with Trump. As we said earlier in the last segment, that now the mayor is going to have to work with Washington to a degree to get what he wants. This is what Mamdani said about that. I will work with the president if he wants to work together to deliver on his campaign promises of cheaper groceries or a lower cost of living. But if the president looks to come after the people of this city, then I will be there standing up for them every step of the way. The rise of Mamdani is similar similar to how Trump was able to rise to power nearly a decade ago, though not from the same anonymity, obtaining power through social media to get attention and to promise a way of change with a populist message. And Trump can't help but be attracted to that, even if he seems pissed in public. In private, Trump has described Mamdani, now the mayor-elect of New York City, as a talented politician, calling him slick and a good talker, according to two people who discussed the president's comments on condition of anonymity. That's Tyler Pager in the New York Times. Cenk, what do you think of how the president and the mayor-elect are interacting one day into this?
Yeah, so there's something that Trump said there that kind of pissed me off. So we'll get to that in a second. But first, on his True Social post, I just want to clarify a couple of things. Of course, Mamdani's not a Jew hater, and that whole thing's a lie. But the part that was over the top was that he said he's a proven, hilarious, because he's literally never said anything against Jewish people, and has said a million times, of course I support Jewish people, I'll protect them, they're important, blah, blah, blah. They've said all the things that you would think any decent human being would say. But
any mayor of New York.
And any mayor of New York, of course, would say, or candidate. And but not only did he say proven, but self-professed Jew hater. Really? When did Mamdani come out and say, oh, I hate all Jews? Like, he just makes stuff up with no remorse, no conscience at all. Right? So a lot of you know that, but some of the folks who voted for Trump are just beginning to see that because they're getting a sampling of different shows in online media, and they're like, oh, I'm not sure Fox News was right when they said Trump's always correct. No, not always correct, okay?
And also, if you look at the breakdown, Cenk, of where Mamdani's support came in New York City, you look at Brooklyn, you look at the Upper West Side, it was a sea of Mamdani, and those are some of the most Jewish parts of New York City. So it also flies in the face of what the president is saying.
Exactly what I was going to say, Michael. Not about the different areas in New York, but some of the polling. We don't have the definitive exit polls yet, but at least a third of Jewish voters in New York voted for Mamdani, and there was a poll ahead of time showing 2/3 of younger Jewish voters voted for Mamdani. So huge number. So apparently, according to Trump, they all hate themselves.
Right.
So like
self-professed.
Yeah, of course, right? Anyway, so now to the main event. Look, the part that bothers me is when Trump threatens funding based on his feelings. So he's like, yeah, you better be nice to me. No, he doesn't have to be nice to you. You're supposed to represent all Americans. Now, look, I always ask people shoe on the other foot, right? And I do it with Democrats, I do it with Republicans. So in this case, imagine if a Democrat wins the presidency and he's like, well, you know, the mayor of Tuscaloosa and Biloxi, they better be nice to me, otherwise I'm cutting off Alabama and Mississippi, you won't get any money. You weren't nice to me. You'd be like, what a maniac, what a lunatic. No, you represent Alabama and Mississippi, you're the president of the United States, right?
But this isn't Republican DNA. Right, you see it with FEMA, you see it with disaster relief. So you see it, of course, in the way that Trump's speaking to Mamdani.
Yeah, and I know in this day and age, you have to fight through so much misinformation to get to the real answers. Like, so I know right wingers who'll think that Michael's totally wrong about FEMA. No, FEMA is the one that's discriminating. So I don't want to get back into the whole FEMA fight, right? But here, it's obvious, right? Because he's saying that Mamdani is not being nice to him. So he might punish US citizens who live in New York. Totally unacceptable. And then did you notice what he said? This is a direct quote now. A little bit, he needs to be, quote, a little bit respectful of Washington. Does he? Like, even if you're MAGA, does he have to be respectful of Washington? Like, is that a thing you want all of your local politicians to do, even if there's a Democrat in office? Oh, no, I have to be respectful of Joe Biden. I can't criticize Joe Biden. And I certainly don't want to criticize him personally because then he'll get hurt feelings. You get it. It's not the way to go. That's not how a president of the entire country should be acting. And then the one part I will agree with Trump on, though, he said when they asked him, "Are you going to reach out to him?" He said he should reach out to us, and that's fair. He's the president. That's just the mayor. He's obviously the biggest city in the country, but yeah, no. It goes in the opposite direction. Mayors should reach out to presidents. So okay, having said all that. What's going to be the bottom line? Is Trump going to cut off some funding that New York is due? That's not only a terrible idea philosophically and ideologically and for the country, but also what if it starts a tit for tat? And now we're even more divided, right? So now Texas redistricts, California redistricts. So now if Trump says, I'm not gonna give to blue states and blue cities, what happens if a Democrat gets in and you're MAGA, and all of a sudden, well, there goes the red states, you're not getting funding anymore. Only the blue states are. No, that's an epic disaster. We can't have it.
It'd be right, but that's where the question of whether Trump is anomalous to other politicians comes into play. So the presumption is that the Democrats or the Republicans would not have a Trump-like, that there is not anyone in our lifetime who will be like that and as childish as this guy, and certainly as president. But but we had it once because we have it now, so it could happen. I do think that it is. I don't think it's the FEMA thing is a bridge too far, and it's not just FEMA. It's extra money that Congress allocates above and beyond FEMA when there are disasters. So James Comer, the Republican member of Congress who is on the Oversight Committee, and he is somebody who had terrible tornadoes in his home state of Kentucky, in his district as a representative. And he was screaming for money from the federal government to go into Kentucky. And then there were fires in Northern California. So we can't do that. We don't have enough money to do that. If we do that, then we'll be giving, so that
Ted Cruz did the same exact thing.
Ted Cruz did the exact same thing. So it is, like I said, in their DNA to behave this way, is to be vindictive through, starving them to death. But Trump also, if grocery prices go down in New York City, stands to benefit. If some of the things that Mamdani is doing work, they are economic boons, and going into a midterm election, that helps Donald Trump. That helps his party if things start to turn in a direction that is positive. So you do run into that a little bit as well if you're Trump.
Yeah. So, but look, let's keep it real. They want Mamdani to do as poorly as he can. Now, to be fair to Trump,
of course they do, yeah.
He said the opposite. You heard him say the opposite. So fair is fair. He said the right thing in that case. But I mean, you see it in all the punditry. You see it in all the other Republican politician reaction. And Donald Trump, he doesn't want Mamdani to do well. And if New York suffers, they'll be able to point to it and go, aha, we told you.
And if New York prospers and the things I just talked about happen, they'll take the credit.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah, so it doesn't really matter, but I'm just saying in general, that's kind of how it
yeah, that's definitely true. Like if things go well in New York, Trump, it was because I was president. Right. If they go bad, it's because he was mayor. And that's a game, by the way, that everybody plays, to be fair. Every time you ring the bell below, an angel gets his wings. Totally not true, but it does keep you updated on our live shows.